Let's talk about the secondary causes of hypogonadism.
Yeah, and with secondary cause of hypogonadism, kind of move up from the testes essentially, and we look at areas where, for some reason, the testosterone production is being essentially suppressed from elsewhere in the body. And generally speaking, that's going to be related to the pituitary glands, and we're going to see issues with generally the luteinizing hormone, also with the follicle stimulating hormone. These are the things that work on the Leydig cells in the testes and the Sertoli cells in the testes that tell them to produce testosterone and also to produce sperm. And so what we will typically see with someone that has secondary hypogonadism, their follicle stimulating hormones, luteinizing hormones are low, in contrast to primary hypogonadism, where the luteinizing follicle stimulating hormones are elevated, simply because when those levels are high and there's excessive LH, FSH levels, it's telling the testes to, work harder. Let's go. Let's make more testosterone. But it can't. The testes can't do it for various reasons, like we've talked about in the primary hypogonadism segment. But in the secondary side, the luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, LH and FSH, those levels are going to be very low. And the testes are just not getting any signal to produce testosterone. And now there can be a multitude of reasons for that. And so some of the ones that we want to rule out from the physician side, if someone has a pituitary tumor, for example, if someone has a prolactinoma in the pituitary region, where their prolactin levels are very, very high. If someone has a iron overload, we talked about hemochromatosis in the primary hypogonadism segment, but hemochromatosis generally would be more often than not a secondary cause of hypogonadism, because the excessive iron will typically deposit in the pituitary area and elsewhere as well in the body. And there's also a multitude of other causes when it comes to secondary hypogonadism. So if medications, someone's on glucocorticoids, someone's on opioids chronically, sleep apnea, obesity, insulin resistance, these are all various causes of secondary hypogonadism / another term for it now, functional hypogonadism, has kind of become a bit of a trending term in some circles. But the idea is that something else is affecting the body's ability to produce testosterone, and it's not the testes. Mm-hmm. And so from, when I'm assessing a patient, usually when we find the low testosterone and we go digging for other causes, we're always getting the luteinizing follicle stimulating hormone levels. We're getting prolactin levels. Prolactin can be a little bit elevated for other reasons. And so usually I'll get a macroprolactin, and then we often will get an MRI of the pituitary, make sure we're not missing a tumor or anything like that. Good medication list screen, looking for underlying causes. Sometimes there's an immediate reversible cause, but when the patients do have a cause, let's say a patient has a hyperprolactinoma, I had a patient, very little symptoms aside from feeling fatigued, and he came in, he actually ended up having a giant prolactinoma, and his testosterone level was very close to zero, put it that way. And that gentleman is going to need TRT, but he's also going to need treatment for his prolactinoma. And so I think finding these secondary causes is very important too. And I think sometimes we have a couple other causes too, which we can consider secondary hypogonadism, like crash dieting, very severe calorie restriction. If someone's very sick, their levels can get deflated temporarily, and hopefully we expect it to bounce back up. I think one last little point about that I forgot to mention about lab values. The LH FSH levels are interesting because even though we expect them to be very low when someone has a secondary hypogonadism or just on the border, we can also have an effect where they're inappropriately normal. And so we kind of do a mismatch. There's a bit of a mismatch between where the testosterone level actually is and where the luteinizing follicle stimulating hormone levels would expect to be. And so for someone who's a little bit older, we'd expect those levels to be a bit higher. But if they're inappropriately low, like a gentleman who's like 50 years old and his luteinizing follicle stimulating hormones are just 0.1 above the upper limit of normal, and if testosterone level is abnormal, that can mean that there's something going on in the pituitary, and it's not just the age-related decrease, for example.
Mm-hmm. So concerning treatment, I guess that's tackling the cause of the secondary hypogonadism and not directly TRT, right?
Yeah, we'll tackle the cause, and then in many cases, like the patients who have pituitary tumor, things like that, then we can simultaneously put them on TRT while we treat the underlying cause.
Mm-hmm. Are there other pharmaceutical options besides TRT that one could try first in patients with secondary hypogonadism?
You can, in theory. I mean, obviously, the Clomid, HCG are theoretical options. And I'm in Canada, so technically, M-clomiphene's not even a theoretical option. I'm not a huge fan of Clomid and whatnot as in place of TRT, so to speak. I think it's a theoretical option in some sense, where it can elevate the luteinizing follicle stimulating hormones. I think you have maybe a very small subcategory of people who are looking to have a kid in the very near future, for example, if fertility is their main goal and they have low testosterone for a secondary cause. I think there's a narrow margin where you can theoretically consider Clomid and HCG. HCG would also be, again, a theoretical option where the levels will go up, should go up. We would expect to see elevation of testosterone levels since it's mimicking luteinizing hormone, and it's sort of making up for the lack of signaling, essentially, from the pituitary gland to some extent. But again, a little bit more towards fertility treatments in this context rather than primarily treating the low testosterone.
What percentage of patients with secondary hypogonadism end up having TRT anyway?
I would say for secondary hypogonadism, the overwhelming majority will be on TRT.
Okay.
Overwhelming majority, yeah. I think if their levels are, barely abnormal, maybe they don't want to commit to TRT, maybe they have high amounts of obesity, that they lose significant amounts of weight, and there's a very obvious reversible cause. Maybe someone's on opioids and then they stop the opioids, and then they're able to rebound. I think in those cases, maybe they don't want to commit to it. They don't necessarily go on TRT, but I think for some of the more definitive causes, like someone who has hemochromatosis, for example, who's fully iron overloaded. I mean, those patients usually have multitude of organ issues, including hypogonadism, and unfortunately, in many cases, even getting the iron down isn't quite enough to reverse it and bring the levels to normal.